Guten Tag. Zuerst möchte ich Dr. Esch, Dr. Falkenroth, der Technischen Universität und MINTiFF für die freundliche Einladung danken. Ich freue mich sehr, hier in Berlin zu sein. The Simpsons is an incredibly silly television program written by immensely talented, well-educated writers, many with scientific backgrounds. The show is a kind of STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, factory for jokes, guided by the ablest technicians for savvy humor. Some of the jokes practically require a scientific degree to understand. For example, in the Halloween episode, Homer 3, where Homer Simpson vanishes from his cartoon world into the third dimension, an equation flashes for an instant on the screen. It reads 1,782 to the 12th power plus 1,841 to the 12th power equals 1,922 to the 12th power. If you plug this equation into a calculator that is accurate to 10 digits, it appears to be true. The problem is that, according to a famous mathematical rule called Fermat's last theorem, it cannot be true. The equation must be false. There is no pair of integers that could be raised to the 12th power and added to produce another integer to the 12th power. The equation was a very sophisticated joke. Now let's see how this equation was shown on the show.
Man, this place looks expensive. I feel like I'm wasting a fortune just standing here. Better make the most of it. Ow! Watch it, Cody! Oops.
Do you see a light, Homer?
Yes?
Move into the light, my son.
Homer, this is your physician, Dr. Julius Hibbert. Can you tell us what it's like in there?
It's like,
You see the equation just flashed on the screen for about 1 second. As episode writer David X. Cohen recalled, I got the idea that I could come up with a near counterexample to Fermat's last theorem that is accurate enough that if you test it on a bad calculator, it would appear to be true and it would drive people crazy. David X. Cohen could fabricate such a joke with his computer because he had expertise in one of the STEM fields. He has a bachelor's degree from Harvard and a master's in computer science from UC Berkeley. His computer science background and mathematical expertise allowed him to search for an equation that would baffle those familiar with Fermat's last theorem. In fact, many of the show's writers, starting from the top down, have scientific or mathematical backgrounds. For example, executive producer and head writer Al Jean has a bachelor's degree in mathematics from Harvard. Writer Jeff Westbrook has a PhD in computer science from Princeton and was once an associate professor of computer science at Yale University. Ken Keeler has a PhD in applied math from Harvard, and Bill Odenkirk has a PhD in inorganic chemistry from the University of Chicago. For a comedy series, The Simpsons has also had an unusual number of guests with scientific backgrounds. Perhaps the most famous has been Cambridge physicist Stephen Hawking, who has appeared on the show several times, starting with the episode They Saved Lisa's Brain. Other scientists who have appeared on the show include the 1986 winner of the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, Dudley Hirschbach, the late geologist Stephen Jay Gould, and the scientist-turned-writer Thomas Pynchon. Perhaps not until the recent program Big Bang Theory has it been such a badge of honor to be on a comedy show. Hawking had been especially proud of his appearances. Almost as many people know me through The Simpsons as through my science, he said in a 2010 interview. Now here is Hawking on the show.
Time for this hog to fly. Wrong button.
Lisa, thank God you're okay.
Did you have fun with your robot buddy?
Hawking had been contacted by the Simpsons writers because one of them knew his daughter, Lucy. Mention science on The Simpsons, and the character that comes to many people's minds is Professor Frink. Professor Frink represents the quintessential absent-minded professor focused on his theories and oblivious to the outside world. He represents the isolated type of science, separate from the needs of the public and unfathomable by them. His character is derived from Jerry Lewis's bumbling, nutty professor and is an emblem of why many people feel detached from science. Frink certainly doesn't represent a role model that would inspire students. Yet there is much science in The Simpsons that is far friendlier, far more humane, and far more accessible. Frink is not the only symbol of science on the show. Many of the television episodes, along with the Simpsons movie, have featured themes centered on the environment. Because the central image of the program is a nuclear power plant where Homer and his friends Carl and Lenny work, the environment is an omnipresent theme. The two Simpsons girls, Lisa and lately Maggie, have strong interest in preserving nature. They love animals and feel obliged to protect them. Lisa is an ardent vegetarian. Extremely curious about and insensitive to the world around them, they offer a positive vision of science and serve as excellent role models. They are great role models for all children, particularly for girls. Lisa is eloquent about her love for natural beauty. She expresses those feelings during a challenging part of her life. In the episode Lisa the Simpson, she thinks she is losing her intelligence because of the dreaded Simpson gene that appears to affect members of the family after childhood. Lisa is horrified that she'll end up unsuccessful and unintelligent as she sees Homer and Bart. She manages to get a spot on the television news while she emotionally reveals her feelings. While on TV, she offers a poetic rhapsody to science. Beauty is all around us, and not just in pageants and parlors. You can find it in the swirl of galaxies or in the swirl of the center of a sunflower.
Beauty is all around us, and not just in pageants and parlors. You can find it in the swirl of galaxies or the swirl in the center of a sunflower.
So Lisa shows that science can be accessible and wonderful. What a fine, inspiring tribute to the mathematical elegance of the natural world. Lisa's words could help motivate children to look deeply at the universe around them, from the largest to smallest things, from massive galaxies down to delicate flowers. As Lisa points out, each of these share mathematical patterns that can be seen as beautiful. As a nonverbal baby, except for a word or two, Maggie is, of course, less eloquent than Lisa. Yet, in her quiet way, she similarly expresses a love for science and nature. This is very clearly seen in the new short film starring Maggie called The Longest Daycare. It has been nominated for an Oscar award in animation. Let us watch a scene from the film. I think that is brilliant. And some people say the quality of the program has gone down, but this is from last year, and I think it's one of the best things that they've done. And it's nominated for an Oscar award. What if we see in the film that Maggie has a fascination with the natural world, particularly butterflies. Trapped in a hostile kindergarten where she has no friends, she makes friends with a butterfly. Unfortunately, another baby at the center, Gerald, tries to destroy all the little creatures he can find. So begins the battle for ecological preservation. Although Maggie can't speak, her call for protecting nature is loud and clear. It is interesting to note that of the Simpson family, the most scientifically astute characters are girls, particularly Lisa, while Bart seems to have much less interest. While there are a few examples where Bart pursues science, it is not presented as something he likes to do. And for example, in the episode Bart's Comet, Principal Skinner forces Bart to participate in amateur astronomy as a punishment, and he accidentally discovers a comet. Lisa's pursuits, on the other hand, are far more deliberate and meaningful. Although Lisa is bright, she is sometimes insecure about her intelligence. Her worry about losing her smartness is a theme of Lisa the Simpson, particularly after Grandpa Abe Simpson tells her that the Simpson gene brings on failure. Homer tries in vain to reassure her. He invites a number of their relatives over and asks them to describe their careers, hoping she will be impressed. Some of the male Simpsons speak first, and to Lisa's dismay, turn out to be unsuccessful. For example, one of them runs in front of cars to collect insurance money, and another just shoots birds at airports. Lisa is about to give up hope until she is introduced to some of her female Simpson relatives. The women of the Simpson family are extremely intelligent and successful. One of them, Dr. Simpson, explains that the faulty Simpson gene is carried on the Y chromosome and passed down from male to male. Lisa realizes that it's just the Simpson men who are fated to lose their intelligence. The women all glow with success. Let's watch this important scene from Simpson family history.
What do you do, Dr. Simpson?
Doctor?
That's right. I'm Chief of Complicated Surgery at the Invasive Care Clinic.
That means you went to college, right?
You have to if you want to be an architect or an environmental lawyer.
Or regional sales coordinator for the third largest distributor of bunk and trundle beds.
Oh, did you hear that, Lisa?
So, all the Simpson women turn out okay.
That's right, sweetie. The defective Simpson gene is on the Y chromosome, so only men are affected.
So I'm not doomed. Oh, Dad, I've never been happier to be your daughter.
Oh, it ain't, honey. Remember, there's nothing that says you can't be a Simpson and a success.
Unless you're a man.
By introducing strong women characters such as Dr. Simpson and the sensible family matriarch, Marge Simpson, who often offers the voice of reason, along with precocious girl characters such as Lisa and Maggie, the writers of The Simpsons have provided important female role models. Children watching the show see that girls and women can help transform society through, for example, action to help the environment. Though the show is fictional, it models equal opportunity in the real world, such as areas such as science and technology. One of the episodes focused most strongly on the question of equal opportunity for girls and boys is Girls Just Want to Have Sums. The issues examined in that excellent episode were based on a real-life incident. In 2005, Harvard President Lawrence Summers, a respected economist, gave a talk in which he speculated about the underrepresentation of women in science. He was strongly criticized for his speculations about the role of genetics, leading to a protest at Harvard and accusations of sexism. In response to this discussion, Matt Selman and others crafted an episode in which Principal Skinner similarly makes sexist remarks about girls' and boys' differences in math. He gets fired and replaced by a reformist principal named Melanie Upfoot, whose goal is to elevate the status of girls by improving their self-esteem. Principal Upfoot decides to divide the girls and boys into separate schools. While the boys continue to learn math in the standard way, the girls are taught math in a simplistic, non-scientific way based on feelings and emotions about numbers. Consequently, while the girls feel better about themselves, they don't learn any real math. Rebelling against the situation in which she is learning no real math, Lisa decides that her only path to knowledge is to dress as a boy and attend the boys' classes. She puts on a boy's hairpiece and glasses, dresses like a boy, tries to make her voice deeper, calls herself Jake Boyman, and begins to attend the boys' part of the school. There she excels in math.
Do it, Lisa. You'll be greater than or equal to boys.
Even though you're only 8, your possibilities are infinite.
27!
Finally, she receives an award, and she reveals her true identity as a girl. The point of the tale seems to be that girls and boys, if presented with equal opportunity and equal encouragement, are equally capable of mastering mathematics and excellence in STEM disciplines. Lisa's example shows that math and science should not be watered down to be made palatable. Rather, if girls and boys are taught by gifted teachers that are knowledgeable about math and science and who encourage their interests, they will naturally become interested in those fields. Lisa's passion for science and math extends for after-school projects as well as school activities. In the episode The PTA Disbands, a school strike cancels classes for all the students. Lisa is bored and decides to create her own projects at home. Homer is not supportive of Lisa's efforts. One science project that upsets him is a device Lisa has made that keeps spinning faster and faster. Somehow it is generating more and more energy out of nothingness and using that energy to make the machine go faster. In real life, such a perpetual mobile or perpetual motion machine would violate the laws of physics, particularly the first and second laws of thermodynamics as postulated by Rudolf Clausius and others. While the first law states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, the second law requires that no process is completely efficient. That is why engines wear down. If the viewer knows these scientific facts, that is why it's so funny when Homer screams, "Lisa, in this house, we obey the laws of thermodynamics."
Lisa, get in here! In this house, we obey the laws of thermodynamics.
As we all know, the laws of thermodynamics apply everywhere, not just when Homer commands them to be. But as a cartoon, the Simpsons writers can twist reality. They can literally rewrite the laws of science to their liking. However, when they do so, they create an instructive exercise, motivating viewers to find out what the real laws are. An excellent example of the twisting of the laws of physics to suit the purpose of science is the episode Bart versus Australia. The episode begins with Bart and Lisa pouring shampoo down a sink and watching it flow counterclockwise. Lisa makes the false claim that water, as it drains, always swirls counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere. She attributes this to a physical property called the Coriolis effect. Bart doesn't believe her at first, but then when he flushes the toilet, he notes that the water flows counterclockwise just like the sink. He then phones random people in the southern hemisphere, such as a boy in Australia named Tobias, who each report that the water swirls counterclockwise down under. Could Lisa's hypothesis be correct? Later in the episode, when the whole Simpson family visits Australia, they stop in the American embassy where the toilets are specially designed to flush northern hemisphere style. The water is forced to drain in a counterclockwise direction, said to be unnatural for Australia, just to make Americans feel more at home.
Hace correr el agua como en América.
Lejos estoy del suelo donde nacito.
As it turns out, you needn't do much work to force water to drain in any direction. On the scale of toilets and sinks, the Coriolis effect is so weak, it makes little difference. The shape of the brain, the basin, and other conditions have far greater impact. Thus, under ordinary circumstances, drains in the northern and southern hemispheres don't really swirl in reverse directions. While might hurricanes and ocean currents flow in opposite directions due to the Coriolis effect, the water in relatively tiny sinks certainly does not. Then why does Lisa, if she is so intelligent, make a false assertion? As classic cartoons demonstrate, the laws of science are often distorted for comic effect, such as characters who step off a cliff and they seem to hang in the air before falling. In the Bart vs. Australia episode, the show's writers wanted to make Australia seem as bizarre as possible. Therefore, exploiting a common misconception about sinks and toilets swirling in the opposite direction served their purpose well by making the southern hemisphere seem stranger and funnier. Hopefully, those watching the show will become curious about the Coriolis effect and read about its true implications. Hopefully, The Simpsons will guide children and others to look at scientific assertions with a critical idea. If the show only featured Professor Frink types, children might get the idea that science is something remote and unfathomable. But by having Lisa, Bart, and others address scientific ideas, typically with humor, children might realize that science is something everyone can try to experiment with and understand. In today's technological society, an understanding of science is critical. In the episode, Lisa the Skeptic, Lisa tries to convince her fellow citizens of Springfield about the importance of science. However, many of the citizens think of science as theoretical, intellectual, and far removed from real life. Take, for example, Mo the bartender. In this scene, while Lisa is on TV discussing how critical science is, Mo remarks, "Science, what has science ever done for us?" Humorously, he then uses science to turn his TV off through remote control.
Look, you can either accept science and face reality, or you can believe in angels and live in a childish dream world.
Science? What's science ever done for us? TV off.
Humorous, it is clear from that scene that science is everywhere and is an increasingly important part of education. In summary, although The Simpsons is fictional and comic, it sheds light on the scientific and mathematical principles of the real world through irony and humor. It features children as key participants in science and mathematics, which could help inspire pupils at school and students at university to take up STEM careers. It also helps promote equal opportunity for women and men in STEM fields, Chancengleichheit in MINTiFF, through the excellent example of Lisa and Maggie. Humor in cartoons can clearly be a powerful motivating force for educational and societal progress.